Here they come.
Welcome to another episode of Here They Come, the USTA's podcast, bringing you all the news of harness racing. I'm Kate Lockhart, and this week I'm here to introduce Internet News Manager and Hoofbeats Copy Editor Paul Ramlow.
Hi, Kate. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks. Paul is a 20-year veteran of the USTA, and I'm sure we'll have lots of great information to add to the podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here. I look forward to talking and bringing the fans up to date on the latest happenings in this great sport of harness racing. One of the more interesting news items we came across in the past week, Meadowlands Racetrack is inviting fans to vote on the top 10 Meadowlands races of the past decade. Fans can email their favorites to racing@thebigm.com. The voting will end at the end of this month on January 31st. After the results are tallied, the top 10 finalists will be counted down each week on Meadowlands Racetrack's television program. For me, it was very easy to come up with my pick for the Meadowlands race of the past decade. I go back to the 2008 Meadowlands Pace, artificial, upsetting, previously unbeaten Some Beach Somewhere. Great stretch drive, certainly one of the races for the ages. I think even Bob Heyden called it the best race in Meadowlands history, period. So I can't argue with Hollywood on that.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was a great race call from Sam McKee as well. Really enjoyed the whole desperate lunge on the outside. The Meadowlands on their website lists the top 10 choices from their broadcast team. It was interesting to see that all three of the people on the site there picked that as their favorite as well. I have to say, there's not much to argue there. It was a fantastic race.
No, absolutely. When I go back to that week, I just think about Artificial not being a well-known name. We did profile him that week on the USTA newsroom, and so when he won that race, it was almost like, hey, we've read about this horse this week, and then he turned out to be a great horse after that. And, of course, Some Beach Somewhere never lost again. So as the season went on, that race just carried more and more significance, and certainly I think it'll be a landslide winner among the fans.
Also announced recently was that Jason Bartlett was selected as a winner of the Thurman Munson Award. It's an award given out to acknowledge excellence in competition and philanthropic work within the community of New York. It was nice to see Jason honored alongside some really prominent New York athletes. Jobber Chamberlain of the New York Yankees, Chicago Cubs manager Lou Piniella, former big league outfielder Darryl Strawberry, and New York Knicks point guard Chris Duhon.
Yeah, this is the latest honor for Bartlett, who just has had a terrific couple of years since moving down to the metro New York City area. He's been the leading driver at Yonkers Raceway the last 2 years. He represented the United States in the World Driving Championship last year. Just a terrific individual, and to be honored among the names that you just mentioned, certainly it's a shot in the arm for harness racing and for Jason in particular. Congratulations to him on that award.
Yeah, it's great to see Jason honored again, and he'll also be answering fans' questions at the Hoofbeats Facebook fan page. You can go there to check that out. It's facebook.com/hoofbeatsmagazine.
And to hear a little more from Jason himself about both the Thurman Munson Award and his recent success at Yonkers, let's go to USTA Communications Director Nicole Kraft in this interview.
So, Jason, you're up bright and early this morning. What are you up to this morning?
I live only 10 minutes from Mark Ford's farms, and the horse I own, Twin Oaks Test, is there. So I, usually every morning I get up and come jog her and take care of her a little bit, my wife and I. So something for us to do in the morning while our son Kobe's at school. So something different.
That's pretty surprising. I think some people would be surprised for a driver who's reached your status at this point to still be out jogging horses. You know, I looked up some statistics and saw that in 2005 you earned just under $600,000 in purses, and last year you earned $10 million. What's that like for you?
It's a big change, you know. I think Bob Hayden told me that last year I made 10.8, and in all the years before it added up to 10.8. So that's kind of he has amazing stats, so it's kind of neat to compare the two. You know, it was a great year, obviously a career year. So.
You also got picked for the World Driving Championship last year. Were you surprised when you got that call to go to Norway, and what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it's always a pleasure and always an honor to. Hopefully they choose me again. You never know who they're gonna ask, and but if they ask me, I'd be more than happy to do it here on a home turf.
Well, aside from winning races, you've certainly gotten some pretty big press recently. Most recently, the Munson Award, which is really a significant honor for horsemen. Or for a horseman, it's very significant, but for any athlete, it's based on accomplishment, of course, and what they give back to the community. Joba Chamberlain is going to be honored this year also. I got to ask you, how did you find out about that award, and what does it mean to you?
I got found out. I think Yonkers told me. So if it wasn't for Yonkers, I wouldn't be nominated. But so I got to thank them. They do a lot of a lot of charity in the community in Yonkers. And then also it also puts a little bit of a spotlight on harness racing that this is a sport, and we do have great athletes that do this. So I guess it's great for me and the sport.
Well, that's great, and we look forward to getting some questions and having you answer them on our Facebook page this week.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, Jason, thank you so much. It is great to talk with you.
Thank you for having me.
Word out of South Florida this week is Pompano Park is planning a big night of harness racing action to coincide with the Super Bowl on the first weekend of February. Pompano is offering the $50,000 inaugural edition of the Bernie Goldstein Memorial Pace for free-for-allers, and will also add $30,000 filly and mare open pace and a $30,000 open trot to that February 6th program. I think that's terrific news because nothing is better for harness racing than a big night of racing. It ignites the fans, it ignites track personnel, it ignites the horsemen. And to do this in February when there's not a lot of racing going on, I think is great. And to tie it into the whole Super Bowl weekend, I think John Yinger and the folks at Pompano are going to have a very big weekend. Kudos to them.
Yeah, I know they're already working on some promotional ideas, how they can take advantage of the Super Bowl that weekend. It should be a great night of racing, and anyone in the South Florida area should be encouraged to check it out. Well, we mentioned on an earlier episode that the Meadowlands was going to guarantee their Pick 4 pools, and they've just announced an increase. As the Meadowlands put it, the best bet in harness racing just got even better. Turns out on Saturday nights, they're now going to guarantee the pool at $75,000. And on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights, the pool will be guaranteed at $35,000, which is a great bet. It's offered nightly on races 6 through 9 and has a fantastic takeout rate of 15%, which I know attracts a lot of horse players.
Right, and the Pick 4 last year paid more than $1,000 nearly 50% of the time, so there's significant money for fans to win.
And here with some milestones and anniversaries is Bob Hayden with the Hollywood Minute, sponsored by Hoofbeats Magazine, reporting with horsepower.
Well, Holly, I thought I'd shake things up a little bit with us this week and start with our Stump Bob Hayden quiz first, because Joe Carroll thinks he's got one that can stop you, but I'm not too sure. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Mr. Carroll would like to know, what was the first sub-150 racing mile? What horse set that record, where, when, and who was its driver and trainer?
Well, I was right there. We're going by race mile now, not the time trial.
Race
so
mile.
we'll go with the race mile. Was 1985. It was August 3rd. It was Hambletonian Day. And Practice had just won the Hambletonian, and less than an hour later, Annihilator was attempting to become the first sub-150 pacer. And I was in the press box that day, and when he hit the wire in 149 and 3, there was kind of a sense of disappointment because people actually expected a little bit more. Bill O'Donnell would later tell me that he really wasn't at his best that day. Billy Houghton trained. Annihilator went on to a $3.2 million career, 149 and 3, and that was the last time a horse retired as the both fastest and richest racehorse of all time, the great Annihilator in '85.
Well, I'm sure you find it as hard to believe as I do, Holly, that it has been 25 years since Annihilator set that record.
It was 30 years ago that Niatrust won the very first $1 million race ever held, and 3 weeks later there was the first $2 million race won by Land Grant. By the way, the Niatrust Meadowlands Pace is the last time John Campbell did not appear in the Meadowlands Pace. So this year, assuming he makes it this year, will be 30 straight appearances in the Pace for John. 10 years ago, in 2000, Gallo Blue Chip set the earnings record that only Some Beat Somewhere has come up and eclipsed. 15 years ago, John Campbell did something nobody's done. He won the Jug, North America Cup, Pace, and Hambo in the same year. David's Pass, Tagliabue, and Nick's Fantasy. And one of my favorite all-time anniversaries has to be this. Most Happy Fella 40 years ago wins the Triple Crown. Why is that interesting? Because the 2 years prior and the 2 years after, Stanley Dancer, who campaigned Most Happy Fella, he won the Horse of the Year both times. But he didn't win it the year he had the Triple Crown winner, Most Happy Fellow. The award went to Fresh Yankee, Stanley Dancer.
Well, Holly, it is again a pleasure to have you with us, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
I'll be ready.
Thank you, Bob. Nice to see that the fans couldn't stump you 2 weeks in a row. You were there to see Annihilator set that world record mile. But maybe somebody else has a question that you can't answer. So if you want to try to stump Hollywood Heyden, send your question to hoofbeats@ustrotting.com. Other news this week, the Tattersalls Mix Sale was held at the Meadowlands on January 18th. A significant sale for older stock, both broodmares and racing stock. Hypnotic Blue Chip, a 4-year-old male pacer this year, sold for $325,000 to Fran Azier.
Yeah, it was nice to see that Hypnotic Blue Chip was purchased by Fran. All right, well, that wraps up another episode of Here They Come. I'd like to thank Jason Bartlett, Bob Hollywood Heyden, Nicole Kraft, and the man with the magic, Rich Johnston, for putting this episode together. I'm Kate Lockhart.
And I'm Paul Ramlow.
And we look forward to seeing you next time on Here They Come.